So I'm going to do a little rundown on how to start and stop this vehicle and how to go over a few of the controls on it, because all Unimogs are slightly different and some have their own little personal quirks. This one not included. So right now the vehicle is not started. Air pressure is low. This one has a couple of small air leaks, so it loses pressure kind of quickly. So in order to start this, the first thing you do is you got your key over here. And on this one, as with a lot of work Unimogs and municipal Unimogs, it has a clutch safety interlock. So you're going to want to have the clutch all the way down, and it's got to be all the way down before you start it. There are a couple other interlocks on this particular Unimog. They apply to some Unimogs, but not all, but these are things to consider. This is the PTO, and it has 3 positions: fast, 540, 1100, and neutral. It has to be in neutral in order to start. So if you stop the engine with this in gear, when you come back to start it, it won't start. So another thing is the clutch. This is the clutch for the PTO. This is now, it's engaged, and then, well, that engages the clutch. And then this releases the clutch. The clutch has to be released. So first of all, if it doesn't start, it may be this, or your foot is not all the way down. You do not need to be in neutral, but I like to start these in neutral. And as I tell everybody, always be in the habit of having it in forward, because when you kind of get into the truck, you turn the key, you put it into first gear, you think you're going to be going that way. If instead you're going in reverse, especially if there's someone parked behind you, you're going to have an unpleasant surprise. So this will start off in forward reverse, right? You have on this particular truck all 8 gears working forward and reverse. So it's always a good idea to park it in forward. This here is a control box for the sander. I'm not going to go into that. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I am going to start this truck. So foot on clutch, turn key. Oh, actually, I will let my foot off the gas and it will stall, because there's another peculiarity of this vehicle. It applies to some. There's a hand throttle right there. And the hand throttle is how you shut this engine off. And it's also how you kind of adjust the idle speed. So if you look carefully, there's kind of an indent notch right there. So you bring this down till it clicks. And that, now you're at the idle speed on this particular truck. Some trucks, you don't need to do this. It all depends. On any of these SBUs with this ball here, you definitely want to be careful. They're fragile and they break off. I'd say 9 out of 10 of the trucks that I get, this ball is broken off. So I tend to do it down here just to prevent that ball from breaking. So anyhow, on this particular truck, you have to put that indent in. That will set the speed. So as I said before, I gave it some gas to start it up, and then as soon as I let my foot off the pedal, it stalled. So this time I'll just put my foot on the clutch. And there we go. Now we still can't go anywhere because the air has to come up. So you have 2 needles here. This particular truck has really good air, but you have 2 needles. There are 2 tanks, there are 2 independent air circuits, and those needles are for each air circuit. Another thing to take into account is some trucks run on the kind of 6 to 8 bar, which is about 120 PSI system. It's very similar to like American domestic trucks and a lot of trucks. So the air brake systems on trailers and things like that tend to run in this PSI range. But a lot of Unimogs have double this for the tanks, so that this will read 20. And there are 2 warning lights on this right now, and this red warning light is telling you that you don't have enough pressure to release the park brake. So right now you have to wait. You know, this air comes up pretty quick on this truck, and you can see they both go up together. On some of them, one goes up first and then the other follows. You You've got oil pressure right there. This truck's got great oil pressure. Temperature here. These trucks will not warm up if you just let them sit outside and idle. You have to work them a bit. So now the light went off, and that means that there's enough air pressure now to override the rear park brakes and then to use the brakes in most of the systems. So this particular truck is a little picky, and it takes a little bit more pressure to first release the park brake. So you'll actually see it'll stop, that gauge will stop, and then it just clicked back. It just did it. That means it's now, it has enough pressure to disengage those. And then you'll see these lights come on. So this is four-wheel drive. The park light is still on because the park brake, which is right here, is still engaged. When you want to engage the park brake, disengage the park brake, you basically kind of gently pull this back and up, and it clicks. If you want to re-engage it, you just bring it back until it clicks. So that's how you disengage and re-engage the park brake. So again, the warning light is on because we have the park brake on. Now to stop this particular vehicle, normally until the Unimogs got to like the late 1990s, early 2000s, this key does not turn it off. As you can see, all that's happening now is the battery's not charging. Take the key out of the car, it still runs. So the key is not how you usually stop a Unimog. You either have, on some of the military Unimogs, you have like a shut-off manual switch right here. On other Unimogs, you may have a air brake right here. And on other Unimogs, you would lift the pedal. So you go behind it and you lift it up. And on this Unimog, what you do is you basically just cut the engine with the hand throttle. So they're all slightly different variations, but unless it's a much newer Unimog, the key is not the way it's going to be shut down. The way it's going to be shut down is, like I said, either handbrake. There'll be something right here, like there's a throttle adjustment in the Army ones, and that you can also push that down. And on the Army ones as well, you could lift the pedal if you want. Or on some of the vehicles, they have a park brake. As a little FYI for the ones that have that use this brake, it's not a park brake, it's the air brakes. The irony is, if you don't have pressure, then you can't engage the brake, and so it can be hard to stop that engine. But usually, you can. Your plan B. On this vehicle, you can't do it, but the plan B is to pull the pedal up, because the pedal has a direct link to the engine. So anyway, that's kind of how to start and stop this Unimog, and maybe I'll do another piece, covering some other aspects of it.